I still can't believe how the Denver Broncos pulled this off. They didn't just land a mastermind in football strategy, they brought in a culture architect. Sean Payton isn't just about playbooks and formations, he builds something deeper, something that sticks, something that changes the entire heartbeat of a team. And that's not hype, it's fact. In today's breakdown, we're diving into what makes Sean Payton's culture so rare and so powerful, and how it's already transforming Denver. His teams don't just play harder, they play for each other. That kind of chemistry, it doesn't come from X's and O's alone, it's built day by day, rep by rep, moment by moment. There's an old saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast, and Payton, he lives by that. A team of 53 united players will always outshine 53 individuals chasing stats. And Payton knows exactly how to turn a locker room into a brotherhood. What's the secret? It's not one thing, it's everything. A million tiny decisions, choices, and standards that stack up into something unshakable. And this offseason, you can already feel it. The Broncos drafted more team captains than any other squad in the league. That's no accident. That's Sean Payton's blueprint. Look at guys like Jaquan McMillian, RJ Harvey, Pat Bryant, born leaders who don't just play the game, they elevate it. You see it in the way they carry themselves. No distractions, no drama, just real work. While other players are vacationing or chasing clout, Pat Surtain is out there running a youth camp, teaching kids how to lead on and off the field. That's culture, that's leadership, that's Denver football in the Payton era. And here's the thing, Pat Surtain isn't doing all this alone. He's surrounded by teammates who volunteer their own time to help at his youth camp. No cameras, no press, no spotlight. Just men showing up for each other. That's what a real football brotherhood looks like. And when you compare that to what's happening elsewhere in the league, the difference is night and day. Look at what happened with the Raiders quarterback Geno Smith. He promised a teammate he'd help out at a summer camp. The teammate paid for his flight, covered his hotel, everything. And then Geno ghosted him. No explanation, no apology. When he was confronted about it, he didn't say sorry. He just offered to split the costs and never even paid him back. That teammate was so disrespected, it ended in a fist fight that broke Geno's jaw. 6 games missed. A broken locker room. That's the kind of thing that tears teams apart. Now look back at Denver. While other teams are unraveling, the Broncos are flying cross country in the middle of a 108-degree summer to stand beside each other. Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham showed up at a former teammate's wedding on the other side of the country. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. That's what Sean Payton has created, a culture that runs deeper than football. It's not just inspiring, it's contagious. You want proof? Just count the number of people who followed Payton from job to job. Former coaches, former players, guys who trust him, believe in him, and want to be part of what he builds. I stopped counting after 17. Joe Lombardi, Mike Westhoff, Zach Strief, Chris Banjo, Pete Carmichael, Todd Davis, Rizzi. The list keeps going. Even players, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Michael Burton, Adam Trotman, guys who already know what it means to play for Payton and came back for more. That's not coincidence. That's not luck. That's what happens when a coach builds a culture that players would run through a wall for. And now, that culture lives in Denver. There's a reason players would run through walls for Sean Payton. This man doesn't just coach. He earns loyalty. He earns trust. And when he calls, people answer without hesitation. Just listen to what Zach Strief said. He had a solid career after football, working as a color commentator on the radio. Comfortable, stable, but the moment Payton picked up the phone, Strief didn't even blink. He packed up his family and moved to be with him. That kind of loyalty doesn't just happen, it's earned. So how does a coach build something that strong? Where does it start? Dig into Sean Payton's past, back to his New Orleans days, and you'll find the blueprint. His attention to culture, unity, and team building wasn't just talk, it was action. Creative, intense, unforgettable action. One of the most powerful examples, he turned team bonding into one of the most brutal workouts these players had ever faced. He picked a few captains and let them draft their own teams for a full-blown CrossFit-style gauntlet. It wasn't just about strength, it was about grit, balance, speed, teamwork. Power cleans, pull-ups, endurance drills, the kind of challenge that left players gasping for air but begging to do it again. They said it was the hardest thing they'd ever done. But more importantly, They said it brought them together like nothing else because they suffered together, they fought together, and they came out stronger together. That's what culture looks like. Not a speech, not a slogan, but sweat, fire, unity. And here's the thing, Peyton's not done. He's brought that same fire to Denver. Every detail matters. Every rep matters. He's rebuilding this team from the inside out, just like he did in New Orleans. And it's working. There's this one moment that speaks volumes, a story from his time with the Saints. One of his players had just lost a brother in a tragic accident. The night before a home game in New Orleans, Sean Payton made a choice that most coaches wouldn't even consider. One of his players had just lost his brother, and instead of sending condolences from afar, Payton got on a plane. Alongside a few assistants and teammates, he flew out to be there for the funeral. That's leadership. That's a coach who sees his players as family, not just roster spots. You hear guys like Terron Armstead say, "That's my guy. I love that man." And when you feel that kind of bond between coach and player, you realize just how rare it is in this league. Because let's be real, what we were told about Sean Payton after Bountygate, that wasn't this. The media gave us a one-dimensional image, a villain, a headline. But when you dig deeper, when you really look at how this man shows up for his team, it becomes crystal clear. The Broncos didn't just hire a Super Bowl winning coach, they hit the jackpot. This kind of unity, this kind of loyalty doesn't exist everywhere. Spend 5 seconds on Twitter and you'll see it. Drama, trades, disloyalty. But what Payton has built, it's different, it's real, and the stories keep coming. Journalists who followed him for years say the same thing. Brutally honest, deeply compassionate, ridiculously competitive, and endlessly motivational. That's not from a press release, that's from players who lived it. He's not just a coach, he's a storyteller, a motivator, a culture architect. Players wanted to record his team meetings, not because they had to, but because the stories were that meaningful. When was the last time you heard players say that? And in the toughest moments, Payton steps up. During the height of COVID lockdowns, one of his players had a child diagnosed with cancer. Travel rules meant he wasn't allowed to be with his family and remain eligible to play. But Sean Payton fought for him. He went to the league, petitioned the commissioner, and said, "Whatever it takes, we'll make it work." He puts everything on the line for his players, and that's exactly why they'll give everything they have in return. We've all seen that fiery side of Sean Payton. When reporters pushed a little too hard about Devon Bell, Payton snapped back. That's the version the media loves to show, the intense, no-nonsense guy. But what they often miss is the loyalty and love that so many players feel for him. You hear it constantly. "I love playing for Sean Payton. I'd go to war for that man." And here's the truth. That kind of loyalty, it doesn't just lift morale, it attracts talent. This offseason, Denver didn't just land top-tier players. We stole them from elite contenders like the San Francisco 49ers. And while some people thought that was all about Bo Nix, the reality is it's Bo Nix and Sean Payton together that made Denver a magnet. Look at Luke McCown, Payton's former backup quarterback in New Orleans. Other teams offered him more money to leave the Saints, and he said no without hesitation. Why? Because after years of feeling drained, Sean Payton made football fun again. He brought back the joy, and that's exactly what he's doing in Denver. Here's what makes it even more powerful. This wasn't a surprise to Denver's ownership. The Walton Penner Group did their homework. They didn't just see a Super Bowl ring. They saw the details that made Payton different. They said he was maniacal about every little thing. This is a coach who once analyzed the size of fan flags at Saints games and decided they weren't big enough. Why? Because every detail matters. If you're going to obsess over the inches on a third down play, you better care just as much about the energy in the stadium. That's Payton's mindset. Every inch, every detail, every moment on or off the field matters. And when a coach leads with that kind of intensity, that kind of passion, it creates something bigger than just a football team. It builds a movement. In Sean Payton's world, everything matters. The weight room, the locker room, the way this team travels, even how they celebrate a win, it's all part of the culture. Payton doesn't cut corners. He doesn't leave anything to chance. He knows that greatness isn't built on one thing, it's built on everything. That's why he went out and invested in a next-level post-game setup. Booming speakers, fog machines, strobe lights, the full package, not for flash, for impact. Because every time the Broncos walk off an opponent's field with a win, the rest of the league is going to hear it, feel it, Welcome to Club Dub. This isn't about partying, it's about building a bond, a band of brothers, a hungry, fearless group that celebrates every win like it's their first and fights together like it's their last. That kind of energy, that kind of unity, it becomes a magnet. Players around the league will see it, hear it, and think, man, I want to be a part of that. Because at the end of the day, every athlete wants something bigger than just stats or contracts. They want to be part of a movement, a mission, a legacy. And Sean Payton is building that in Denver. He already nailed the culture. And last season, he was doing it with a roster still full of cracks and holes. But now, the talent has caught up to the culture. And when those two forces collide, elite talent and an unshakable brotherhood, you better believe the rest of the NFL is on notice. So clear your calendars, because the Denver Broncos are coming, and they won't stop until they're playing in late January and February. This is real. This is powerful. This is something we can all believe in.